Hey guys! So I'm wearing the exact same outfit that I wore last week because I'm filming back-to-back videos, and the reason why I don't care necessarily is because this video is my bookshelf tour. It's been about, definitely over a year, maybe a year and a handful of months since I did my previous bookshelf tour, and I figured it was time to do one now. So, yeah, and since you're here for the books, I figured it doesn't really matter what I'm wearing because you're just gonna see my shelves. So yes, without further ado, let's get started. So this is the top of my first shelf, and this is classics or books I've had to read for school. So we have The Life Book, a collection of poetry by William Blake, Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy, Into the Wild by John Krakauer, I'm not sure how to say his name, Death Be Not Proud by John Gunther, Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, Cold Sassy Tree by Olive Ann Burns, Speak by Laurie Hulse Anderson, Emotions Revealed, and Telling Lies both by Paul Ekman, The Elements of Style by William Strunk Jr. and E.B. White, Nonsense on Stilts by Massimo Pigliucci, Middlemarch by George Eliot, The Major Works of Alexander Pope, The Red Badge of Courage and Other Stories by Stephen Crane, Briar Rose by Jane Yolen, Animal Farm by George Orwell, 1984 by George Orwell, The Great Train Robbery by Michael Crichton, Billy Budd and Other Stories by Herman Melville, The Interesting Narrative and Other Writings of Oyeda Equiano, Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe, The Outsiders by S. E. Hinton, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, The Cure by Sonia Levinton, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, The Road by McCormac McCarthy, Religion and Magic in Ancient Egypt by Rosalie David, The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, The Psychology of Harry Potter, edited by Neil Mulholland. Alright, on the next shelf we have Reawakened by Colleen Hooke, Splintered, Unhinged, and Ensnared, all by A.G. Howard, 4. Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant, all by Veronica Roth, The Game of Love and Death by Martha Brockenborough, Bloodlines, The Golden Lily, The Indigo Spell, The Fiery Heart, Silver Shadows, and The Ruby Circle, all by Rochelle Mead, Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, Uprooted by Naomi Novik, The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Adiath, Ruby Red, Sapphire Blue, and Emerald Green, all by Kirsten Gear. On the next shelf, we have The Fallen Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Thomas E. Stanowski, Thirst Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Christopher Pike, 1,000 Pieces of You and 10,000 Skies Above You by Claudia Gray, Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer, Red Queen and Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard, Lux Beginnings, Consequences, and Opposition by Jennifer L. Armentrout, Jacoby by William Ritter, The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, Cinder by Melissa Meyer, The Summoning, The Awakening, and The Reckoning by Kelly Armstrong, and Anti-Goddess by Kendar Blake. This shelf consists of Percy Jackson's Greek Gods and Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes, both by Rick Riordan and illustrated by John Rocco, The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, The House of Hades, and The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan, The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan, as well as the new cover editions of the same book series, The Red Pyramid, The Throne of Fire, and The Serpent's Shadow, all also by Rick Riordan, The Sword of Summer by Rick Riordan, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. On this shelf we have Outlander by Diana Gabaldon, Afterworld by Scott Westerfeld, The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black, Best Loved Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen, The Complete Collection of Brother Grimm's Fairy Tales, Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page, Juliet Immortal, and Romeo Redeemed by Stacey J., Infinity, Invincible, Infamous, Inferno, and Illusion by Sherilyn Kenyon, Inkheart, Ink Spell, and Ink Death by Cornelia Funk. The last shelf on this bookcase we have Collection Stories, The Prince and the Guard, The Selection, The Elite, and The One by Kira Cass, Illusion by Claudia Gable and Cheryl Clam, Rebel Bell by Rachel Hawkins, Seraphina by Rachel Hartman, The Clockwork Scarab by Colleen Gleason, Shadow Cry, and Black Watch by Jenna Burtonshaw, Teardrop by Lauren Kate, Grave Mercy, Dark Triumph, and Mortal Heart by Robin Lefevers, School Spirits by Rachel Hawkins, Bitten and Stolen by Kelly Armstrong, 2 copies of Vampire Academy, Frostbite, Shadow Kiss, Blood Promise, Spirit Bound, and Last Sacrifice, all by Rochelle Mead. Alright, so on my second bookcase at the top we have Hiroshima by John Hershey, Daddy Longlegs by Jean Webster, A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest J. Gaines, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishigiru, Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, The Norton Anthology of English Literature 16th and Early 17th Century, The Columbia Anthology of American Poetry, The Longman Anthology of British Literature Volume 1, Darkness and Daylight by Mary J. Holmes, a very old copy of Walt Disney's Peter Pan, and The Best-Loved Poems of the American People, Paradise Lost by John Milton, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and William Shakespeare's Tragedies. On this shelf we have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, illustrated by Jim Kay, The Sorcerer's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, The Prisoner of Azkaban, The Goblet of Fire, The Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, and The Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling, Daughter of Smoke and Bone, Days of Blood and Starlight, and Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, Project Cain by Jeffrey Gerard, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and Hidden Behind Everything, English Romantic Writers, edited by David Perkins. Also the Norton Anthology of English Literature, The Major Authors. Alright, on this shelf we have the Shadowhunters Codex, Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, Clockwork Princess, City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, City of Heavenly Fire, The Bane Chronicles, and Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. The Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, and Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. Hidden behind those we have the Longman Anthology of British Literature, Volume 2. On this shelf we have The Distance Between Us by Cassie West, Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, An Abundance of Catherines by John Green, The 10th Circle by Jodi Picoult, Paper Towns by John Green, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Kahn and David Levithan, Half Bad by Sally Green, The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight, This Is What Happy Looks Like, and The Geography of You and Me by Jennifer E. Smith. Meant to Be by Lauren Morrill, To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Ginny Hahn, Outlander, Dragonfly and Amber, and Voyager by Diana Gabaldon, A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows by George R. R. Martin, Dream a Little Dream by Kirsten Gear, How They Met and Other Stories by David Levithan, 2 copies of The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, Being Friends with Boys by Tara Elan McVoy, Love Letters to the Dead by Ava de la Are. Up next we have The Paris Wife by Paula McLan, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, Night World Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 by L.J. Smith, Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, Breaking Dawn, The Twilight Saga, The Official Illustrated Guide, and Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined by Stephanie Meyer. Nefret's Curse, Marked, Betrayed, Chosen, Untamed, Hunted, Tempted, Burned, Awakened, Destined, Hidden, Revealed, and Redeemed by P.C. and Kristen Cast. Alright, on this shelf, Dark Secrets 1, Dark Secrets 2, The Back Door of Midnight, and Kissed by an Angel by Elizabeth Chandler, The Bull End King, and The Bull End Deceit by Laurel Anderson, A Walk to Remember, A Bend in the Road by Nicholas Sparks, 50 Shades of Grey by E. L. James, The Den of Shadows Quartet by Amelia Atwater Rhodes, Emma by Jane Austen, The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons, The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hawken, 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher, The Forbidden Game by L.J. Smith, Dark Visions by L.J. Smith, The Lord of the Rings Trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien, Remember Me by Christopher Pike, Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, The Wheel of Ice by Stephen Baxter, and Raven Girl by Audrey Neffiner. Okay, so this is the top of my dresser, and here we have Fantasia, an Algerian Calivarade by Asira Debar, an anthology of English Victorian poetry edited by Paul Nigiri, The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, Antigone by Sophocles, As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner, King Arthur and His Knights of the Round Table by Roger Lanson Green, Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, The Norton Anthology of English Literature Victorian Age, Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare, Great American Short Stories edited by Paul Nigiri, The Collected Works of Elizabeth and Robert Browning, The Bluest Eye, and Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Adichie, The Seagull Reader Collection of Poems, 3rd edition, edited by Joseph Kelly, Friday Night Lights by H.G. Bissinger, Tender as the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart, Everything's an Argument by Andrea Lunsford and John Ruskowitz, The Ghosts by Antonia Barber, The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut, Seagull Reader Stories 3rd edition, edited by Joseph Kelly, The Norton Anthology of English Literature Romantic Period, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, Winesburg, Ohio by Sherwood Anderson, Passport by Heretta Mueller, Wit by Margaret Edson, The Automatic Millionaire by David Batch, The Norton Anthology of English Literature The Middle Ages, The Dover Thrift Edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Night by Eli Wiesel, The Seagull Reader Plays 3rd edition, edited by Joseph Kelly, Hamlet by William Shakespeare, A Very Short Introduction to Forensic Psychology by David Cantier, Essential English Grammar by Philip Gucker, The Puffin Classics edition of King Arthur and His Knights of the Round Table by Roger Lanson Green, Nightfall by Isaac Asimov and Robert Silverberg, Collection of Romantic Poets, Selected Poetry and Prose of John Milton, Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe, Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, Paradise Lost by John Milton, A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking, Left for Dead by Pete Nelson. Alright, on the top of my last bookcase, Tales of Beetle the Bard, a very old paperback version of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the Hogwarts Library including Quidditch Through the Ages, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and another copy of the Tales of Beetle the Bard, as well as the new cover editions of the entire Harry Potter series, the limited edition collector's edition of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the limited edition collector's edition of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry Potter Film Wizardry, and Harry Potter Page to Screen. Okay, on this shelf we have The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling, The Illustrated Sherlock Holmes, and The Complete Sherlock Holmes Volume 2 by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Shatter Me, and Unravel Me by Tahira Mafi, If I Stay by Gail Forman, The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold, The Runaway Princess by Hester Brown, Angel Fall, and World After by Susan E., The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North, The Goddess Test by Amy Carter, Uglies, and Specials by Scott Westerfeld, The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Neffiner, The Realm of Possibility by David Levithan, The Sign of Four, The Hound of Baskervilles, A Study in Scarlet, and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Eon by Alison Goodman, Anna Dressed in Blood, and Girl of Nightmares by Kendar Blake. Here we have Little House in the Big Woods, Farmer Boy, On the Banks of Plum Creek, By the Shores of Silver Lake, The Long Winter, Little Town on the Prairie, These Happy Golden Years, and The First 4 Years by Laura Ingalls Wilder, The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks, The Lover's Dictionary by David Levithan, I Hunt Killers, and Game by Barry Legra, Crank, Glass, and Identical by Ellen Hopkins, The Vampire's Assistant, and Birth of a Killer by Darren Shane, and Angel by James Patterson. And on my last shelf we have School's Out Forever by James Patterson, The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, Aesop's Fables, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, Because of Winn-Dixie by Kate DeCamlo, Pippi Longstocking by Astrid Lindgren, Pish Posh by Ellen Potter, Yu-Gi-Oh! Volume 1, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Millennium World Volume 7 by Kazuhu Tahanashi, The Anybodies by N.E. Bode, Stuart Little by E.B. White, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer, The Merchant of Death, and The Lost City Afar by D.J. McHale, Princess Academy by Shannon Hale, 13 Little Blue Envelopes by Maureen Johnson, It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini, The Pinderwicks by Jean Birdsale, I Tell You I'd Love You But Then I'd Have to Kill You, Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy, Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover, Only the Good Spy Young, Out of Sight, Out of Time, United We Spy by Allie Carter, Small Steps by Louis Satcher, The Revenge of the Shadow King, The Rise of the Black Wolf, and The Fall of the Templar by Derek Benz and J.S. Lewis, Matilda, and The BFG by Roald Dahl, The Angel Experiment, Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports, and The Final Warning by James Patterson, Midnight for Charlie Bone and the Time Twister, and Charlie Bone and the Invisible Boy by Jenny Nimmo, The Code, Hide and Seek, Proof Positive, and Tunnel Vision by Peter Legras, and So You Want to Be a Wizard by Diane Doohan. Great, so that was my bookshelf tour. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you later with another one. Bye!